What's going on, everybody? It is your host, Nathan Snell, here with Team NBS Media. It is another edition of Free Agent Frenzy. Yes, your eyes did not deceive you. Ashmere is not here, so I'm filling in today this evening, and I can't do it alone. I have very special guests with me, and we're going to bring them on in just a bit. But if you have not already, please continue to support Team NBS Media. Follow us on YouTube, Facebook, and also check out our website, teamnbs.com, media.com. We have a lot of great content for you guys. This episode, I'm excited to talk about some football, some NFL free agency. Let's bring on the guests. We're going to start with Mr. Steve.
How's it going, guys?
Steve, how you doing, sir?
Wonderful evening here.
Awesome. Next, I'm going to bring on a new member of Team NBS Media, Mr. Randall.
Hey, how we doing?
Randall, good evening. How you doing, sir?
I am doing well.
Good. And lastly, but not least, got to bring on the GOAT, man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Joe himself.
I don't know about the GOAT. Strong praise.
Exactly. Cameron cannot be with us, unfortunately, this evening, but the four of us will hold the fort down for Cameron. And congratulations to Cameron doing big things with the Boston Red Sox. But we were actually with the Double A team, just the Portland Sea Dogs. If I remember that correctly, but congratulations on getting that job, Cam. Big ups to you. And continue to do great things. Before we get started, as the host of Free Agent Frenzy, I have a few house rules that I would like to just get off my chest. I would like to be addressed as Nate or Nathan, not Nathaniel. Okay. Speak when spoken to. We will not have any cussing and no bad mouthing our producers. We will have you removed from the show.
Good luck with all that being. Good luck with all that being kept in order.
Yeah. No, seriously, listen, y'all. This is going to be a great show. We got a lot to get into. And let's just get right into it, fellas. Obviously, free agency has been for some teams has been, for the most part, a little slow, but there's been some surprises. Obviously, let's just get it out the way. That bad man himself is now a member of the Black and Yellow. Aaron Rodgers is now with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm going to start with you, Steve. What's your reactions to Mr. Number 12, now member of the Pittsburgh Steelers?
Oh, you were serious? That actually happened? I had not heard that. So that's literally brand new news to me. Wow. Okay. Honestly, that's probably, in my opinion, the only option he's had this entire free agency period, if he was really weighing any options that there were at all to begin with. So Pittsburgh was the closest team with a quarterback need that was anywhere remotely close to in playoff contention. They've got a defense. They went out and got a receiver to add the Pickens, who they already have. It's interesting what they're going to do with the running game, having gotten rid of their multiple 1,000-yard rusher in Najee Harris. Aaron Rodgers classically always needed some form of running game to help his game work, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, that Pittsburgh is the only team that made any sense for Mr. Aaron Rodgers to go to. You're not going to go spend 1 year at the New York Giants, who are 3 years away, let's be honest, from a Super Bowl contention run of any kind, even if he did show up. So, and Minnesota made it clear that he wasn't going to be their starter. He was going to be coming there as a backup, and that was not in his plans either, even though we are probably a more ready playoff-made team than even Pittsburgh. So I understand why Aaron Rodgers' allure was purple first, but in the end, I think he landed where his best situation was to actually be on the field.
I'm sorry, I want to clarify that it's rumored to be with this Pittsburgh Steelers have interest in him.
Okay.
My apologies, ladies and gentlemen. That's one of the teams I do recall seeing, but is there any other teams, if you were saying I need a quarterback, is Aaron Rodgers the first quarterback on your call list?
I'll let Randall go.
Go ahead, Randall.
Yeah. I mean, I would have to say that I guess the Giants could be an option with how their free agency went a little bit, and he would be somebody that he would like to kind of save a little bit of PR to it, because he kind of, ran out of New York Jets. And with the Giants organization, if he were to lift them up into the playoffs, he could have that gusto and magnitude to be able to say, look what I did, sort of thing. I built him from the ground up. That's something that I believe Aaron Rodgers' ego would enjoy, but also he would have to kind of think that he'd be in a 2-year plan, and he'd want to play for 1 more year and then stretch that out and see if he can win a Super Bowl in that final year. But really, Pittsburgh should be the only option. I think Arthur Smith would like him and his style, especially with short and intermediate passes, and then be able to have the long shot with DK and George Pickens. Offensive line is a little rough, but so is New York Jets. So really, it's slim pickings right now.
Okay. And Joe, what are your thoughts?
I would say I would stay far away from Aaron Rodgers. I didn't see enough last year. Those Jets games, he had maybe 2 or 3 games where you saw flashes of the old AR-12 of the old days. But I think his time has passed, and I think just so many distractions off the field and friction in the locker room. I know that a couple of weeks after the Jets let him go, you saw players coming out saying what a great teammate he was. He supported them throughout the season. I wonder how much of that was people trying to cover for the fact that he didn't do any of those things, or how much of that stuff was really true. So if it's me, I'd rather have a Gardner Minshew or a Carson Wentz than have an Aaron Rodgers on my team.
Now, the Pittsburgh Steelers did sign a couple of days ago Mason Rudolph to a 2-year deal, but Mason Rudolph honestly was the starter at one time in Pittsburgh, and that didn't really pan out. So is there a quarterback that you guys see, I'll start with you, Steve, that would fit Pittsburgh? Russell Wilson's still out there. Justin Fields is now with the New York Jets. But are there any other options that you see Pittsburgh they can go after?
Yeah, I honestly, it's kind of interesting that with how Pittsburgh has also sort of seemingly dragged around with what they're doing at the quarterback position, and the way that it's apparently being reported and put out and laid out. They, I guess, wanted to keep Justin Fields after putting him back on the bench for Russell Wilson, but then they wanted to re-sign him, and I guess after you offend a guy like that, he was like, deuces. And then Russell Wilson is now sitting out there still available and either not coming back in the building because he doesn't want to, or because Arthur Smith doesn't want him to. But then they went out and traded for one of Russell Wilson's favorite targets from Seattle in DK Metcalf. So it makes sense as why you would also want to be having Russell Wilson come on back to Pittsburgh. But I don't know if you can, and I don't know if it's going to, because of that whole Arthur Smith, Russell Wilson thing, because I don't think those two are a fit at either. At some point, there's a crossroads that I don't think they're getting along. So I don't think that works. And frankly, I would take Russell Wilson over Arthur Smith because I don't think his offense worked all that well when he had even more weapons in Atlanta. So I don't know. I would see what's cooking with Russell and DK, but again, you've got Arthur Smith in the way of that, I think. So it's interesting. Pittsburgh is really odd, and so are the Giants, who are continuing also to be in this weird quasi quarterback conundrum that they both put themselves in this situation. And Pittsburgh kind of longer than the Giants have, because Ben Roethlisberger's been gone for how many years now, and they still haven't solved what they're doing at quarterback. It's interesting. And then the Giants, they signed a huge deal to Daniel Jones, who was never going to live up to that contract, and they found that out midway through the first season and decided to just dump him and eat it. It's really weird, and they still have no clue what they're doing at quarterback. I guess they're waiting to pick up the scraps of whatever is not going to Pittsburgh, I guess, at this point. So it's really weird. And then you've got the draft. So I just don't know what's going on with the quarterback situation in either of these teams.
Okay. Randall, is there any quarterback that you see that fits Pittsburgh?
Yeah, I could see, let's say, in a hypothetical that they do go in the draft and they get a quarterback that's not ready. Probably other than Cam is the only person that could start on year one. But I could see them maybe going for a Joe Flacco, for a veteran that can lead that rookie quarterback, watch him play, and then potentially still get in the playoffs and see what they can do. We can't forget what he did in Cleveland at his age, sort of thing. But if I'm really looking at somebody, and I know it could be hypocritical, or maybe they admit that they made a mistake by letting Justin Fields go, but I would look into trading for Joe Milton. I think he's a dynamic, good, strong arm quarterback that deserves a starting chance at that. And I think Arthur Smith could maybe hold him in a little bit and use him like a Ryan Tannehill, because Joe Milton's a big guy and he can do that running, get a good run game in, and then utilize him in the run game as well.
All right, Joe, wrap this up for me. Is there anyone that Pittsburgh quarterback that you think would fit Pittsburgh? Joe?
Not really, man. I mean, I feel like Steve made a great point. I mean, how long has it been since Ben Roethlisberger hasn't been under center for Pittsburgh and no plan at all for quarterback? I think that the best case scenario is you do bring back a Russell Wilson if he wants to come back, and then you draft somebody second round or later round, a rookie quarterback, and use Russell Wilson as that bridge quarterback. But clearly, a great example of what happens when you don't have a plan for when your Hall of Famer, his time is winding down, he retires, and here we are X amount of years later and still don't have a successor. Mason Rudolph, okay, I guess. I mean, I think if I'm the Pittsburgh Steelers, I want Russell Wilson back in the building, and then I'm going to draft that rookie quarterback, and I'm going to use Russell as a bridge. And maybe, like Steve said, you strike lightning in a bottle. Him and DK hit it off. You still got Pickens there. You got to figure out what you're going to do at running back and plug some serious holes on the offensive line. But, I mean, one thing about Mike Tomlin and the Steelers, I understand that they think being just like this is okay. Not mediocrity, but making the playoffs by the skin of your teeth is an okay thing in Pittsburgh. Maybe you do a little bit more than that with this offense. But I definitely think I draft the rookie quarterback and I use Russell Wilson as a bridge guy.
Okay. We're going to transition to a different team. Obviously, we're going to stay in the AFC North, obviously, because we knew a little bit kind of what the Bengals were not sure where the direction was. We saw they franchise tagged T. Higgins not too long ago, and now both Jamar Chase and T. Higgins are locked up for the next few years. They're making a combined $69 million. I wish I was in shape in the NFL. But congratulations to those guys as they earned their bags respectfully. I'm gonna start with Randall. Your overall thoughts on Cincinnati Bengals locking up Joe Burrow's number 1 and number 2 receivers?
I mean, it's hard to say that that's a bad thing, because you have now 2 wide receiver number 1s on your team, so it's almost as score 40 sort of thing. But the issue is that last year they almost scored 40 and then ended up losing, not making it to the playoffs on the skin of their teeth there. So I would say that, it's great to have those 2 number 1s. It's very contingent on what they do with Trey Hendrickson, if they trade him for a draft pick or if they sign him, because they have 6 draft picks in the 2025 draft. And if you don't have Trey Hendrickson, then you have to nail every single defensive person in that draft to get back into the playoffs, because it will just be spinning wheels again, just like they did last year.
Joe, how are you liking this move for the Bengals?
I mean, I'm excited. I'm a big fan of the 2 receivers, but Randall's exactly right. We scored 35 and our defense gave up 40. So what are we doing? Like, we gotta. I mean, there's a lot of young guys. A lot of young guys in that Cincinnati defense last year. So you gotta hope with offseason training, watching film, they take a leap and improve. But I think if you can't get Trey back on the edge to create a pass rush and make life easier for the guys in the back end, you're absolutely right. Their GM might be top 3 most pressure GMs in the league to really nail every single draft pick on the defensive side of the ball, so you can make up for that offense, because their offense is going to score points. They'll figure out the offensive line. Joe Burrow will do what he does. I think for Cincinnati, the more important thing is, can we get off to a strong start for once? All these 1-3s and 1-4s and the magical run to be in the playoff contention. If they can start a season off 3-1, 4-2, I think that'd be great for Bengals fans and great for Cincinnati. So we'll have to see if they can pull it off or not.
I agree with that. I like that. Steve, I'm actually going to ask a follow-up question to Jamar Chase and T. Higgins being re-signed. Now, Trey Hendrickson has 1 year left on his current contract, and we will talk next about a defensive player who just got a bag himself. If you're Cincinnati, do you find it feasible to extend Trey Hendrickson now, or do you let him walk, or as Randall said, try to get a pick or 2 for him?
I mean, yeah, it's an interesting situation because especially he's now going into his 30s, which means he's going into the back end of his prime, and it's hard, especially in the NFL, regardless of it seems really harder for teams to want to give up that big final contract, and so they end up moving around more than staying with the team per se. But it sounds like the Bengals are trying to work on getting a deal to re-sign Hendrickson, and it sounds like with their re-signings that they did with Higgins and Chase that they've made some room to potentially do so. But that also, in another sense, well, why have we dragged our feet to this point when, especially when you look at specifically T. Higgins, you franchised him twice, and this year it was for 26+ million. Just to actually sign him for just over $2 million more 2 weeks later. So, like, what was the negotiation process cost you $1 million a week for? Like, that just really doesn't make sense. Why you couldn't figure out over a $2 million difference before the franchise tag of us? I don't know. I guess that makes it's above my head mathematics, I guess. But it just seems odd that they would not be able to sign that or rework Trey Hendrickson last year when he was still more in his prime and putting up league leading numbers, or was potentially going to. Because now you don't, like, how many more times is he going to lead the league in sacks? With TJ Watt out there still, Myles Garrett's out there, Max Crosby's out there. I mean, you've got plenty of guys that are coming for that sack mark every year. So I don't know. Is Trey Hendrickson still going to be that guy?
That's a very good point. That is a very good point. And we transition to Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett, he got his bag with the Cleveland Brownies. Just overall thoughts. I'm going to start with you, Steve. How do you feel about Myles Garrett at first he wanted a meeting with the owner, and that did not happen, which most of the time is weird, but that is money. Just your overall thoughts on Myles Garrett remaining with the Brownies.
So I'm also kind of I'm gonna try to not go on the same level of tirade, but I'm in the same camp with our fellow terrific Tom coworker. He went on a terrific rant on this subject when it first happened. I believe it was on the first show. Anyway, it was fantastic. I just don't understand. You're gonna go out and say that I need to be traded from this team because I know it's going nowhere, and I got to get out of town because I actually want to win a ring and a championship, and I want to be a contender. But then the ownership and like kind of doubles down with you and says, I'm not even going to talk to you, let alone trade you, just for you to sign the biggest contract a couple of 48 hours later. Okay, cool. So your word is nothing. It's worth your contract is worth, which is what you really meant in the first place. So just say what you meant in the first place. Like, let's just be real. And who isn't gonna? Are you gonna not sign $123 million? Sign me up. I'm in. Like, yeah. Who isn't gonna take that bag? Come on now. Let's be real.
Randall, your thoughts? Myles Garrett, 4 years, $160 million.
I wish I could say something positive about it. But Steve pretty much nailed it, to be honest with you. I'm a little confused even on the aspect. Like, I get it. I get it. Money is money, right? So $40 million a year, that's incredible. And obviously there's an NFL pedigree within the NFL that if you're the highest paid player, that is something that you're allowed to, all the players know you are the top guy. You earn that contract because of all the work you put in. So I respect that for sure. I respect that pedigree. But also, there has to be some truth to him wanting to win a Super Bowl. And I know that, there's rumors that Shador is going to go at number 2. And I love that because I do like Shador. But Shador is also a year away from at least probably getting the Browns to the playoffs. They're not going to do it in 2025. They could maybe make it to the playoffs in 2026. In 2027, Myles Garrett's cap hit's going to be like $67 million. And he's going to be 33 or 34 years old, right? So how much is he going to contribute? What is his snap count going to be in a potential playoff run when he's old and tethered a little bit longer and, he's not at his full potential? Winning a potential Super Bowl is kind of iffy for me, to be honest.
Joe, your thoughts on Myles Garrett?
I mean, congratulations to Miles. Like you said, man, I wish I was young and in shape and can play football and get a major
Facts.
contract because I'd go out there and let the owner refuse a meeting with me. If it means I'm going to get a contract like that a couple weeks later, I don't need to talk to the owner at all. But I think that the points that Randall put up is the first things I thought about. When they become a contender and there's a chance for Cleveland to finally do something, how much of a contributor is Myles Garrett really going to be? I mean, obviously him and his family's family will be set for life, but how much of a contributor is he going to be to that Browns potential playoff run? And let's not forget, you still got the albatross contract of Deshaun Watson on top of your head. And I see he put a video out of himself working out yesterday with his walking boot on. Okay, I guess. But I just don't know how much Myles is going to be a contributor. When it gets to money time, when they're a real contender in the AFC North and then the AFC, how much of a factor is Myles Garrett going to be in that? That's why I question.
Okay, we're going to talk about another team in the AFC North a little later. But out west, I'm sorry this happened, Steve, the Seattle Seahawks may have found their quarterback. Sam Darnold is now a Seahawk. Start with you, Joe. Is that a good move?
I don't know, man. I mean, how many times have we seen lightning in the bottle in the NFL where somebody has a great season or a great game and then they go out and get a great free agent contract? I mean, I can list like 12 players who I saw have great playoff runs or great seasons. They get a mega contract and don't perform even anywhere close to the contract. So I think with Sam, I wonder how much of that was Sam really having the lights go off and him understanding the NFL game and being able to dissect defenses, and how much of that was Kevin Stefanski being the quarterback whisperer, putting him in the right positions to make those kind of plays. So we'll have to see. I think with Seattle, it's a little bit of a risk. I mean, you traded away Geno Smith, who wasn't trash by any means, in my opinion. You get a younger quarterback in Sam Darnold, but I don't know. For me, a serious wait and see approach with this signing.
Steve, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, all hats off to Sam Darnold. He had a great year, don't get me wrong, and I'm still going to stick to this. This is my own opinion. I think Sam Darnold's best interest, regardless of money and bag, which is also its own, other separate issue, I think it would have been in Sam's best interest for him to stay here in Minnesota, even though it would have meant transitioning from the starter, whether it was this year or next year, as JJ surpassed him in the starting role and he would become JJ's backup being here. I think that still would have been a better place for him systematically and successfully. But I don't know, is he going to be as successful in Seattle ever? Because let's be honest, how did it work out for Kirk Cousins leading Minnesota? He wasn't that successful. So I don't know. He's been put on the bench, right? I don't know. So that's just the way I see it. I think Sam should have stayed here. It's all good. We have JJ. He's the future. He's the present. He's the now. So good luck, Sam.
And lastly, Randall, your thoughts on Sam Darnold now being a member of the Seattle Seahawks?
Yeah, I mean, I would think that he didn't stay in Minnesota because of money, which is fair. $100.5 million on 3 years is solid. I don't think Minnesota would have paid him anything close to that to be their backup.
Nope.
So the money talks on that one, which I do like. So respect Sam Darnold. I know it took him a little bit to get to the starting NFL caliber, so I'm glad he got that bag. But the Seattle Seahawks, why Geno Smith was not productive was because their offensive line. Their offensive line did not do anything for him, and he didn't have enough time to throw at all. So the Seattle Seahawks didn't really do anything to their offensive line. According to PFN, Seattle's offensive line was ranked 9th, and then Seattle's is ranked 31st. And Minnesota had JJ and Jordan Addison and TJ Hawkinson, and then Seattle picked up Cooper Kupp, which is a second slot receiver to Jackson Smith and Jigba, which he cannot play outside. So who's going to play outside? Is it Jake Bobo sort of thing that's playing outside of those two? So Sam Darnold's not in the same environment as he was in Minnesota, and that worries me a little bit, especially with the offensive line. And they only signed him for 3 years. So if you waste his first year, they do have an out after year 2 to save money, but you kind of have to see it out for the full 3 years to see if you can get anything out of him.
Congratulations, Sam Darnold. It should be interesting these next couple years in Seattle. It's going to be a new era as well, because he also gets a weapon, but the Rams and the Seahawks actually have 2 new weapons. The Rams have Devontae Adams, and Cooper Kupp is one in the Seattle. Which move is a little bit more impactful? Cooper Kupp going to the Seahawks, Devontae Adams with the Rams. I'm going to start with you, Steve.
Well, that's interesting because they're both well on in their veteran stage at this point. And I believe Devontae might actually be older than Cooper Kupp, but he might still be somewhat more productive and or have a better longevity because of he's had better health, I believe. And so I think the injuries are complicating things for Cooper Kupp, especially being in ankles and whatnot. It's hard to recover, and once those go, you don't really get those back. So I just don't know what Cooper Kupp, and like you said, he's now in Seattle and he's a slot guy that's essentially, because of his route tree knowledge, is going to be one of the outside guys, or they're try to use him as an outside guy, but he's a slot guy. So we'll see how that works. But I think Devontae is going to work out better as a landing location because he is an outside guy for a weapon to replace Cooper Kupp, force Stafford. So as Stafford's a gunslinger still, and Devontae Adams classically was really good when he had a gunslinger named Aaron Rodgers. So I think that might bode well for the Rams, and the Rams were a play or two away in the playoffs. They're closer than Seattle, so I think that move for Devontae is better for the Rams.
Well, Devontae now has a new gunslinger, and that is Matthew Stafford. Randall, your thoughts? Who's better? Which is
definitely Devontae Adams. I apologize. Definitely Devontae Adams on a statistical point, and LA Rams were always closer to getting that playoff run and getting to the NFC Championship. So Devontae definitely puts them in that area where they can just kind of continue without Kupp. I do think Kupp will be good in Seattle, especially as a mentor to Jackson Smith and Jigba. I'm not saying that he needs much mentorship because he had a high floor coming out of college, but Cooper Kupp is such a dynamic wide receiver that he will be a great mentor in that wide receiver room. He still is an incredible blocker, so Kubiak can run formations to help other people eat while Cooper Kupp can block. They'll probably put him on a lower snap count. So I think both are good, and Kupp is going to help Seattle, but by far Devontae Adams is going to just kind of keep ascending that LA Rams team, who we thought might have done a small rebuild, now get back into that NFC Championship.
Joe, you have the final word. Which is a better signing, Adams or Cooper Kupp?
Oh, I think it's Devontae Adams by far. I think the Rams, man, they went from like, okay, it's going to be a rebuild. This team's going to fall off a little bit. What are they going to do? They lost 99 in the middle, to being 2 or 3 plays away from beating the Eagles. But before I get bashed by Eagles fans, I know close only counts in horseshoes. So you guys won the game fair and square. But I think for the Los Angeles Rams, you are right back in the middle of being a contender for a possible Super Bowl run for real. Matthew Stafford, to me, shows no signs of running out of any gas at all. I mean, the guy just gets banged up, just keeps on getting up, keeps on playing. You think that offensive line will improve? They have a really solid running game. People seem to have forgotten about Puka Nacua. I think for the Rams, picking up Adams is a great move. And for Seattle, like I said, we don't know what we're going to get from Sam Darnold. Their offensive line, I think if we had 6 months to get in shape, the 4 of us could probably be on the offensive line for the Seahawks. That's how bad they are on the offensive line. So I think there's a lot of questions in Seattle. There's not too many questions in Los Angeles. I think for the Rams, picking up Adams is a great move.
Mm-hmm. Mike McDonald does have his work cut out for him as he's going into his second season as the NFL head coach of the Seattle Seahawks. So we just really have a little bit of time before our first commercial break. Just a quick run around. Which player, free agency wise so far, has surprised you that has not gotten signed or has been, wow, they got that kind of contract or should have gotten more? Joe.
Oh, that's tough, man. This wasn't in the show notes. Caught me off guard on that one. A contract that made me say, that's a good one, dude. You know what? I will say Russell Wilson, because I thought that the Steelers had no plan, like I said, for quarterback for the last 8 or 9 years. You had a guy that led you to the playoffs that wasn't spectacular but had his moments. I figured that was only a matter of time. When the season was over and the free agency period began, I figured Russell Wilson would be signed with the quickness. For us to be this far along in the process and still not know where he's going to land, it's kind of surprising to me.
Randall?
Yeah, I'll do 2. One that I was surprised with the contract is Josh Sweat. because he had an opportunity in free agency to get the biggest bag that he probably could because he just won the Super Bowl and he had a great year and
Good point.
and a good age. But I respect that he went over to Arizona Cardinals with Jonathan Gannon. From what I've spoken to Phillies reporters, and they said Josh Sweat is a very loyal guy, had a good relationship with Josh Gannon, so he stuck with it, did a team-friendly deal. And then Asante Samuel Jr. There was a arms race for him with Buffalo and a couple other people, and then it kind of drifted off with some injury concerns, and now it's gone stagnant. And I'm just curious where that is, what's going on with him, because Buffalo needs a cornerback too, like so bad, and I've just been waiting for it, and I was hoping it was going to be Asante Samuel Jr.
I like that one. Steve, you have the last word.
Yeah. The best move, I think the best move out of all, there's been a lot of moves, and I guess I'm gonna kind of cherry pick here as a Minnesota homer. I actually not exactly a signing per se, but the Minnesota Vikings pulling off a trade for the 49ers running back Jordan Mason is actually, I think, the most surprising and biggest move for our team and in the move in the NFL.
Okay. So we had our little round table of free agency signings. So we're going to take a little deep breath. We're going to take a break. When we come back from break, us four, my apologies, we're going to break down our teams and the free agency moves that we all made. Some have been great, some have been head scratchers, and some have been just slow as a snail's pace. But we'll be right back with this commercial break, ladies and gentlemen.
You are watching Team NBS Media. We are a digital media brand covering sports, entertainment, and lifestyle, with team members all across the country. Through our written content, podcasts, and video content, we bring you fresh and professional content. Interested in joining the team? Shoot us an email or DM. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe.
Yes, absolutely.
In 2006, we founded Yeti Coolers with a simple mission: build the cooler we use every day if it existed. One that was built for the serious outdoor enthusiasts rather than for mass discount retailers. One that could take the abuse we knew we'd put it through, out in the field and on the water. One that simply wouldn't break. We decided early on that production innovation would come from necessity and first-hand experience, not from market research and data analysis. Today, Yeti products perform when it matters most. Whether that be an excursion into the remote Alaskan wilderness, chasing redfish on the Gold Coast, or just getting together with friends in the backyard, we make gear that helps you stay out longer, travel farther, and live harder. # built for the wild.
Yes. Definitely built for the wild. And also, too, again, please consider hitting that subscribe button and also continue to support us on Team NBS Media. A lot of great content creators here, and I promise you're going to learn a lot with these three individuals, especially with our next topic. We're breaking down our teams and the free agency moves that we have done so far. Let's start with Randall.
All right.
Buffalo Bills.
So Bills
Outside of all the snow, can you just break down how the Bills have been looking so far in this free agency stage?
Yes, absolutely. Quick, I just saw that Stephon Diggs is in Foxborough, so that's, Bills adjacent. But anyway, so Bills free agency, I would like to call incomplete. As I just kind of discussed, we are kind of short of quarterback too, but we cut Von Miller, we saved $8.4 million, which was definitely needed, and we kind of replaced him with a similar, not style, but body in Joey Bosa, being almost 30 years old, gave him $12.6 million. He's had injuries. He's 5 years younger than Von, but he's had some foot injuries, some core muscle injuries, but a lot of that is behind him. He played 14 games last year, the most he's played in the last 3 years, so I am excited about that. The one thing I am excited with Joey Bosa is that he played 503 snaps versus Von's 332, so we'll get more of a percentage out of him, and he's better at setting the edge for run support. So I do like that signing. It's a high ceiling signing. Joshua Palmer, we got 3 years, $36 million. I love that. It was a free agency class that had a lot of older wide receivers. He was one of the younger ones at 25 years old. His statistics, in my opinion, don't really match who he is. We didn't really have a full route tree runner on our team since Stephon Diggs left. Really, there was, some go routes, some hitches, and then we had our tight ends. Now we have somebody that can run a full route tree, get some separation, and kind of work into Joe Brady's system. So I love that. The big fumbles, I guess I won't call them fumbles because I'm kind of back up on it, is, Larry Ogunjobi. He was cited for 6 games for PEDs, and Michael Hoyt was cited for 6 games for PEDs. So 2 of our offseason acquires will not be playing for the first 6 games, which is kind of brutal. Brandon Beane knew that about Michael Hoyt's, and we still signed him to the 3 years, $21 million. So I believe that is a positive. Taking it, he knew it and still did it. I think he's a super versatile player from the Rams, special teams monster, as well as 310 pounds. That is a 3-tech defensive lineman, but also an outside linebacker, which is insane. That will open us up. Typically, we play nickel and dime, but that will open up more disguised blitzes and things along those lines because he can really be anywhere on the field and you don't know what he's doing. Larry O is a really good player. He ran a 3-4 in Pittsburgh, and I think that's where his production fell off. We run 4 up front, which is solid. So I believe that he can get his juice back, especially we only run about 35% of our third string defensive tackles. So he'll have steam at the end of the year. So I'm excited for that. And, those are really the big signings. We still need to get a cornerback too. We still need to get some more interior defensive line because our roster's not full. Right now for the draft, we're pigeonholed at defensive tackle and cornerback for the first pick. And I hate that. So I'm hoping to get a solid cornerback too, Asante Samuel. So then we can go BPA at pick 30. But that's where we're at for Buffalo.
Buffalo does have 10 picks this year of this NFL draft, so it'll be interesting to see what you guys do with the draft for sure. Steve, and the Great Lakes, what's happening with the purple and gold?
The Minnesota Vikings have been busy, you could say the least, this year. And I guess rather than going on news conferences and radio shows a la Jerry Jones down there in Dallas and proclaiming that they are verbally all in the chase of getting back to the Super Bowl that they haven't been in 30 plus years, the Minnesota Vikings are just out and doing so in this free agency period and attacking every single need that they need at their roster positions. They needed help at the defensive line. They went and got Jonathan Allen and John Hargrave and shored that up. They needed a lot of help on the offensive line, and they went and got Will Fries and Ryan Kelly and shored that up. They needed help at their cornerback position and got Isaiah Rodgers from the current Super Bowl winning Philadelphia Eagles, so he brings with playoff and Super Bowl winning pedigree into the Brian Flores of defensive scheme. We went out and got a running back to help support aging veteran Aaron Rodgers to take some of the load off of him, and I believe Jordan Mason is going to be an absolute rock star with our offensive new line and the offense that we're going to have. He was doing excellent for San Francisco. San Francisco runs a similar style from Minnesota. He had in 8 games, or 6 or 7 games, almost 800 yards, and that's plenty when you mix that in with Aaron Rodgers. So that's a perfect fit there. I think it's fantastic. They re-signed Byron Murphy, who was already in our system. Harrison Smith is returning for probably his final year at 35 in the back of the safety position. Career life Viking. It's going to be great. I think we're going to be all in for a big playoff run for the Minnesota Vikings. They're obviously going to be taking everything that they can to try to win this NFC North and the Super Bowl 2025 and beyond. So I think they have absolutely knocked this free agency out of the park with the limited draft picks they have. They can go now at best player available with every pick they have.
The Vikings did release Garrett Bradbury. Is a center a focus in the draft or free agency for the Vikings? Steve.
Sorry, what was that?
The Vikings released Garrett Bradbury, the center, and is now the focus going to be for looking for a center in free agency or with the 3 picks you have for this upcoming draft?
We signed Ryan Kelly from the Colts.
Okay. I like that signing for you guys for sure. Ryan Kelly is a stud. Is a good pickup for sure. Upgrade. Garrett's also a little older. I like that signing.
Absolutely. And I saw a comment from our buddy Greg. No, it was not this year that Jerry said that. I believe it was last year. But Jerry Jones does go out there and say hollow things when they obviously weren't actually going out and doing so. That's what my point was. Sorry, Greg. Last season.
All good. Joe, what's happening in DC?
Man, it feels good to just be a factor in the league. It's been so long to have people talk about the Commanders in the offseason. This is strange to me. It doesn't feel right to be a topic of conversation, even though I saw that report that came out, which I agree with, where they ranked the best and worst stadiums of all the professional sports leagues. We were dead last. Well deserving. But when it comes to the offseason so far for the Commanders, I like what I see. I mean, obviously, we had a lot of guys that were on prove-it deals. I knew that they weren't going to be able to bring back every single person that was on a prove-it deal. You get a stud, a leader back on the defensive side, and Bobby Wagner, bringing him back. Definitely sucked to see Jonathan Allen go, but I understand we bring somebody else in who can kind of, Ken Law comes in, see what he can do to help on the defensive side. Obviously, the big trade was bringing in Deebo Samuel. I think this is a guy that's not just a prove-it year for him, but it's a prove-it career moment for Deebo. I was talking to Steve earlier today. I expect him to come back this season in great shape. Hopefully all those nings and dings he had with the 49ers kind of go away. Maybe there's something good in that DMV water that keeps him healthy so we can get him out in the field. I think pairing him up with Terry McLaurin is great, and along with our other young receivers we have that will only improve. I think that getting Tunsil, no-brainer. You got a young quarterback who had a great season, probably one of the greatest seasons a rookie quarterback has ever had. I'm up for debate on that. If somebody thinks I'm wrong and saying that Jaden Daniels didn't have the best rookie season ever. You get him a left tackle that can protect him and keep him upright. That's a great move as well. And we'll see what other moves Adams Peters can make in the draft. And also, are there other guys he can pick up, veterans, later on this offseason that you can get in those one-year prove-it deals? And if they have a really good season with us, we sign them for a long term. But I think for Washington, I've liked what I've seen so far. I wouldn't mind seeing us pick up a veteran running back. Obviously, I'm always going to say in the trenches because we got our asses beat. Sorry for breaking your rule about the cursing, Nate, with the Eagles in the trenches. So offensive line, defensive line have got to be a focus, not just depth on both those lines, but skill on offensive, defensive line. But so far, so good for the Commanders. And like I said, this is all new territory for us. By now, we're usually just thinking about who we're going to pick in the top 10. People are making jokes about the name. So to be a contender and be a factor, it definitely is. It's a good, fun feeling. And we have a new stadium here soon, too, as well. So, yeah, hell to the Commanders for sure.
And just for the record, Joe, that's a $100 fine for the just kidding.
Washington, Apple Pay is on deck. Yeah. Apple Pay is on deck.
Washington does have 5 picks. And you mentioned running back. Are we not sold on Eckler and Brian Robinson going forward as a duo?
I like Eckler because he's versatile, can catch the ball at the backfield. Definitely another guy, prove-it year, proved himself to be adequate. I think with Robinson, you got a guy who's a hammer who can get things done in the red zone. But I would like to see somebody that's a little bit more dynamic. If you can get somebody who's a combination of both, a guy that can be a hammer but also catch the ball at the backfield and do some things in that Cliff Kingsbury offense, I'd be really excited about that. Plus depth in the running back game nowadays, unless you're Saquon Barkley, having 1, 2, 3 guys you can interchange is a good thing.
For sure. It's not just the DMV water, ladies and gentlemen. It's also Ben's Chili Bowl. Deebo Samuel and Larry Tunsil will definitely like that for sure, as they are now part of the Washington Commanders. Left hand up, baby.
Always.
Commanders are doing big things. And as well as this next team, the Baltimore Ravens. I'm holding the fort down for Cameron because we're both Raven fans, obviously. The Ravens have been a little bit slow this free agency round, but they did make a couple signings. I thought it was key that they re-signed Ronnie Stanley. Ronnie Stanley obviously was in the same draft class as Mr. Larry Tunsil. Ironically, we were supposed to draft Mr. Tunsil, but that's a whole other subject for another video. But you got your left tackle, obviously, for the next 3 years. He's more likely going to retire as a Raven. I'm a little concerned about our depth at linebacker. Some guys are no longer here. I believe Chris Board is now gone. I believe Malik Harrison has also departed. We lost a couple guys to the Steelers. I know Chris Board was one of them, for sure. We did sign DeAndre Hopkins.
That face.
It's a good answer. It's a good answer.
Listen, DeAndre, obviously he brings a little bit more height, and that's something Baltimore's lacked the last couple of years. We do have Rashard Bateman, but we nice to have a big-bodied receiver. I just don't. I just don't know. I need to see at least like 5-6 games before I go, yeah, that was a good signing. Mark Andrews will more likely still be with us. I don't understand why we're so quick to scapegoat him for us losing in Buffalo. But knowing us Ravens, some of us Raven fans, we can never be satisfied. But they're kind of quiet, obviously, because again, salary cap. But I still think they should focus on building the line. They did sign Ben Cleveland, but I don't think Ben Cleveland's a starter. I did see Tevin Jenkins being linked to the Ravens, so that'd be interesting to see for sure. I definitely think they need to go after another corner. I did see Jair Alexander at one point was linked to us. We get somebody in a trade for sure. Marcus Williams, we are officially moving on. I thought we were going to wait till after this upcoming season, but I guess change of plans. And I wish him all the best. The first couple years here was decent, just injuries. And with Darius Washington and his elevation play and Kyle Hamilton in that backfield, it's going to be something to watch for sure. But definitely got to work on the edge. That's the last couple years. This route of signing guys 34, 35 prime, no disrespect to Kyle Van Noy, Davion Clowney, got to have some youth. And what we've drafted just hasn't panned out. Ajabo hasn't panned out. Always is coming into his own, but they need to focus on offensive line, particularly the interior offensive line, left guard, right tackle, right guard for sure, because Daniel Falele is not a right guard. It's not a right guard. It's a tackle, and it wouldn't hurt to get another running back, but I think they're okay with the core they have. We did sign Cooper Rush. Actually, you know what? I'm not mad at that. Because you know what? I think that actually gives Baltimore a true backup. That's something that I don't think we've really had. Really, when Flacco was here, no disrespect to Tyler Huntley or Josh Johnson, but I think you kind of want someone that's a little bit more different. I think he makes the most sense. That actually might be a steal in terms of backup. So I had to give them a grade. I give him a B+. I think that's fair for the Ravens. And actually, while I'm doing that, let's go around and just give grades for our team so far in free agency. Steve, what grade are you giving the Vikings?
With as many needs that the Vikings had and as many that they've hit on, like I said, Will Fries, great offensive tackle or guard, Ryan Kelly, center, complete upgrade. It's going to help make sure J.J. McCarthy is off to a great start with a solid offensive line to protect him and keep him upright, which is always important for any quarterback, especially a young starting quarterback. It's his rookie season, technically. Although you can't call it that because he was on the team last year, blah, 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 et cetera, et cetera. It's going to be his first season playing in the NFL. I don't know if how do you not call it a rookie season, but whatever. Moving on. I think it's great for having J.J. McCarthy protected. They've got a running game that they addressed to make sure that there was also a running game to help facilitate taking the pressure off and not having to be just a throwing game, passing game for J.J. McCarthy. So the pressure is off. It's a complete offense. We've got Justin Jefferson. We've got Jordan Addison, and you can even go down to I actually like Jalen Naylor as our third receiver. Yes, we got Rindell Moore, but we're just adding depth to the wide receiver position at this point. So we've got all kinds of wide receiver depth that can do different things, that can play in different spots, and so I think we're actually phenomenally set up offensively. I think we're ready to rock and roll. We addressed our needs for that Brian Flores defense that didn't have a pass rush up the middle. We now have Jonathan Allen and Hargrave together with Harrison Phillips, who just stuffs the running hole. It's great. Our linebackers are back. We've got Grenard, we've got Van Ginkel, we've got Ivan Pace, and Cashman. So it's just, there's really not much else that you can want to say. I can't say anything that we have to have at least an A. I'd call it an A+ for this free agency.
Okay. And just for the record, I think JJ McCarthy will be just fine for you guys. I think he will throw over for almost between 3,500, 4,000 yards, respectfully. You guys will be,
All right.
Ooh,
I see it.
okay. Jumping out the window on that one.
I'll give Buffalo an A-. I give them an A, but I got to put it down to an A- because the PED sort of thing. Two of the free agencies obviously not playing for 6 games. But if you include the extensions of Josh Allen willing to take $55 million, Khalil Shakir's contract extension is like not even real. His cap hits $7 million in 2026. So basically he's like 3%, and he's our wide receiver 1 on the cap. And then Terrell Bernard, incredible off-ball linebacker that we got to extend. And then all those pieces that we ended up picking up in free agency are versatile enough and exactly what we're trying to do in a new defense to try and get our defense top 10 in the playoffs, not just in the regular season. So we did everything right to stay within the cap and not do anything splash. Buffalo wanted Max Crosby, Trey Henderson, or Myles Garrett, but it turns out everybody might end up signing with their own team. So we can't be mad at that. It's not like Brandon Beane didn't try. So the second route was good, and I like it, and I give it an A-.
Okay. Joe.
I mean, I'm going to say for the Commanders, I'd give us a B- so far. I mean, like I said, we do a really good job, or at least we did last season, of those prove-it deals. And there's still some guys out there that I think you might have to pay a little bit higher, but they can really help. I mean, a former Washington Commander, or at the time, we were the Washington football team, Brandon Sheriff's out there still. You still got a guy like a Keenan Allen who's still out there. You still got a Calais Campbell who's still out there, I believe, who hasn't been signed. So there's some vets out there that maybe Washington can finagle a deal that works for both sides that they can bring in. But I think what we've done so far with the Samuels deal, with the Tunsil deal, bringing in some of the players we got, re-signing Bobby Wagner, I'd give the Commanders a B-.
Okay. I'm going to give the Commanders, respectfully, I'm going to give them a B. I'm going to upgrade that B. I think also, too, I think the draft's going to play a role into that as well.
Of course.
So, but I gave the Ravens, I gave them a B. We actually do have 11 draft picks. I forgot to mention that. And we also do have Deontay Johnson back on the roster as of the whole Super Bowl. Let's transition. I'm sorry. Yeah, Deontay Johnson, that's a whole other story.
Yeah.
I figured you needed a moment. I figured you needed a moment.
Yeah.
But let's transition into the winners and the losers of free agency. I'm going to start with you, Steve. Who do you think so far has won in free agency?
I mean, I obviously I think my Minnesota Vikings have won. I think the Commanders. I mean, no one has made as many moves as the Minnesota Vikings have. I mean, I just, who else has been as active as we have? I don't know. I mean, we had holes in the offensive line. We filled them. We had holes in our defensive line. We filled them. We had a whole bunch of needs in the cornerback room. We filled them. So check. Oh, and we also needed to add youth and another burst for our running back room. Did us trading. Did that. Check. Our checklist is completely filled out. So what else am I supposed to say? Like, we suck?
Well, I said
the only thing we need to do now is sign a backup quarterback. And who really, in the NFL, though, no one cares about the backup quarterback except maybe me. I think the backup quarterback is probably the second most important position, since the quarterback is the most important position. Your backup needs to be the second most important, because most likely at some point your quarterback is going to get hurt, a concussion, etc., and miss 1 or 2 or half a season or the season. So you have to be prepared. Like we said, that Baltimore had a good signing getting Cooper Rush. Cooper Rush is a backup quarterback who has won games when he has needed to step in for an injured Dak Prescott. Now, is he Dak Prescott? No. Is he a starting quarterback? No. But can he get the job done? Yes. And has he proven so? Yes. A guy like Cooper Rush is what the Minnesota Vikings are looking for. That's why Aaron Rodgers is not on their radar. A guy like Jameis Winston should be on the Minnesota Vikings radar to fill that backup role because J.J. McCarthy is our starter.
I like that. Joe, who's your winner so far?
Man, you know what? I'm gonna say the Los Angeles Rams just off the Devontae Adams signing because I think that's a team that didn't lose a lot so far this offseason. They were going to improve. Sean McVay is a maniac. He's probably taking a shower in the team facility right now, getting ready to go log in his 14th or 15th hour of the day. Like I said, in case you didn't notice, I'm a big Matthew Stafford fan. I think the guy still plays like he's 28 years old. So I think adding another receiver who is not that far off his elite status, in my opinion, I think that's a big winner. Another team I'd take a look at and I'd say possibly could be a winner. People are going to laugh. I'm going to say anyway, the Raiders. You draft a young quarterback. You got Geno Smith, who's no scrub, to be your quote-unquote bridge. You bring some stability with Pete Carroll, who's not going to put up with any nonsense. You still got Crosby. You have the best rookie tight end we've seen in the last 10 or 15 years on your roster as well. Obviously, other glaring holes that need to get taken care of in the draft and then through free agency. But I'd say the winners for me are the Rams so far. And I give the Raiders some credit. The Raiders have done good for themselves.
I like that.
Isn't that where Najee Harris went? Didn't he go to the Raiders?
Oh, he went to the Chargers.
Oh, the Chargers. Okay. Oh, that's right. The Chargers. Oh, that's sneaky good.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Going to Raiders.
Jim Harbaugh doesn't love a running game. Justin Herbert doesn't need someone who can actually take the pressure off of him in a running game.
You've got to have some offensive line help with the Chargers. They had a good season with Jim Harbaugh with year one, but I don't know. I don't think it's a bad signing, but I don't think it's a huge game changer in my opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, Pittsburgh Steelers need help at the offensive line. He was putting up 1,000 yards there.
Yeah, but how much success did the Steelers have in the postseason because of Najee Harris? I'll wait.
Yeah, that's fair.
Thank you.
I'll concede that point for sure. But like Joe said, the Raiders are a good one. I agree with that for sure. Randall, who is your winners for free agency?
I went with the Chicago Bears. I think the Chicago Bears did really good at just basically fixing their offensive line through free agency. I think that was a genius move for Caleb Williams because if you build through the draft, there might be some learning curve in there. Don't waste a half a season on Caleb Williams. You wait. His rookie year was bad. They threw too much at him. They tried to make him pre-snap process, post-snap process, throw everything around there. Ben Johnson's not going to do that. They walked in. They drafted their interior offensive line for his full rookie contract, which I love. And then that also doesn't pigeonhole them at the draft. Basically, before free agency started, all mock drafts were what offensive line is Chicago taking at 10 sort of thing. Now they open up to BPA, who they could take. They could go running back. They can go wide receiver. They can go anything that they want at that first pick. So I think they did great on that. They didn't re-sign Keenan Allen, which I do like because they did with their 9th pick last year get Rome Odunze. He needs more of a target share to get into the mix. So I love that for Chicago. I think Ben Johnson and Ryan Poles are setting themselves up for a solid second year of Caleb Williams that they can't waste. And then I put this, and this is kind of like a mid-tier, but if the Giants have a good quarterback, I don't think that they had a bad free agency. I think they had a pretty good one. I really love Holland and Adebo in that backfield, and their DBs were toast. All they did was focus on the front 7 last year and had poor DBs to hope that pressure would help the DBs. But now they have DBs in Adebo and Holland. Holland's super versatile safety. He can be anywhere on the field. I love that. And then they have 5 picks in the top 105. So if they get a good QB and then they nail on 2 or 3, they could at least look competent enough to where maybe Daboll doesn't lose his job and Shane goes, so they both don't go. So I think that they can ascend with their free agency.
Okay, I like that. For me, I'm going to say the Packers, but I'm going to also lean on the Panthers a little bit. Panthers first because they did get a little better in the secondary. They did invest in J.C. Horn. Their secondary is a little bit better for sure. They did miss on a couple of defensive players, but I think they're going to continue to build that defense for sure. It'd be nice if they got Bryce Young some help on the offensive side of the ball, but that's neither here nor there for them right now at the moment as they're getting ready for the draft. But the Packers, I think, are still going to be a legit contender in the NFC North. They did make a couple moves. I know they invested in another corner, which I think will probably determine if Jay Harris want to stay or not. They did definitely work on the defense some more. It would be nice if they worked on the offensive line, but I think Green Bay for so far has won. I think there really wasn't a lot other than just for right now the secondary. So I think they kind of addressed that, and should be interesting to see how it looks for the moment for the Packers. But those are my two so far. The Panthers is kind of like you made some improvements, but the Packers for sure, I think defensively, I think got a little bit better.
Rico Dowdle was a good pickup.
Yeah.
Yep, that's a good one for sure. Let's go for the disappointments in free agency. I said the 49ers. The window is officially closed. And unfortunately, it was closed when they decided to say, hey, we're going to trade Drake. We're going to draft Trey Lance. Honestly and truthfully. They should have drafted offensive lineman, but that's neither here nor there. Listen, they were older. All of your older money, and you can't pay everybody. That is the unfortunate result of this business with the salary cap, and the window to win a championship is 5 years max. And especially if you are in a direction like the San Francisco 49ers. Deebo Samuel's gone.
Yep.
At some point, Trent Williams will be retiring. They're just older. Brock Purdy, I think, is a good quarterback. Christian McCaffrey, really with his injuries, how much does he have left in the tank? So I definitely think for sure they're definitely losers in this so far, but I think they're still going to be contenders, but they're not a Super Bowl contender. Steve, loser so far in free agency.
I had I was weighing my options with San Francisco as one of my final three when I was considering this. So I definitely have San Francisco as one of the losers because they've done a lot of subtraction and not so much addition, and they've got cap issues and age issues, and they've got to figure out what they're doing with Brock Purdy. They have to sign him, I guess, but also at what price, at what cost, would that also works for them and is sufficient for Purdy as well, which is an interesting situation with having Josh Allen re-sign at the somewhat team-friendly deal that he did. Does that open a window of negotiation to San Francisco? Say, hey, look, a quarterback who's clearly a level above you left money on the table for the team to be more successful around you. Is that something that you think you guys see the San Francisco leaning on to get a lower number from now for Brock Purdy, say under 50 million? Because I heard that's what the number was roughly around, was 50 million for Purdy, which I think is too high. Oh, but my weakness is the New York Giants. Sorry, I went with the Giants having the weakest free agency because they have no quarterback plan. They last year jettisoned Saquon Barkley. What a mistake that was, and not that there's another Saquon Barkley, but who's their running back now? Or so I don't know. I guess I gotta go with the Giants.
I don't run trains.
In fairness, the Giants for the last really since Eli Manning have not really been going in the right direction. It's
yes,
it's a fire. It is a firestorm with the Giants, and hopefully, somebody in that organization sees a light. Because
a light, one.
I do apparently. So
yeah, you shot me with that, Randall.
Yeah,
I was locked in with your breakdown because I was like, I want to see what he sees.
I mean, the signings have been great. Yeah, contingent on a quarterback. If they figure out the quarterback, then it can be good. That's what I meant.
No, because you're right. If you watched football games, you saw that the front seven was able to get consistent pressure, but if they didn't, they got burned time and time again in the backfield.
Oh yeah, they've got a defense, yeah,
and they couldn't score.
Right.
Unfortunately,
yeah.
With the great receivers with no quarterback. So as you were talking, I remember what I had seen this past season. It makes sense to me with the Giants. I can see it.
Yeah. Right. I see the blueprint. It's just the vision.
It could fail again. Yeah.
Yeah. So I need some more clarity on this vision.
They keep missing that whole the quarterback is the most important position in the NFL, part of the running an NFL team.
Right.
Yeah. So until they figure that out, they've got kind of no, yeah,
That's
Yeah.
true.
nothing else really matters.
Joe, you're a loser so far at free agency.
Oh man, it's already been said, but I'll say it again. I'll pile on. I go San Francisco 49ers. I'm not seeing it. I don't understand it. I know that depth was one of their key things. You have the rookie you had out of Florida last year at receiver. You have Jennings. So we're assuming that those two guys, and you still got Brandon Ayuk. So we're assuming that Ayuk will take another step up and be healthy, along with those two guys to be a consistent wide receiver threat. Then the running game, Christian McCaffrey is a beast, but he has to be a beast on the field. He has to be available. So I'm just not, and the little pieces they're losing here and there on offensive line, they lost their safety, they lost a linebacker. I'm just not seeing with San Francisco. Maybe when the season starts, the depth they've talked about the past couple of seasons will rear its head and we'll see, okay, they'll be fine. But I just see a lot of subtractions from that team, not a lot of additions at all. And then, of course, I'll never miss a chance as a Commanders fan to throw the Dallas Cowboys into the fire. I'll say Dallas as well. What are we doing? We're just kind of standing.
They were my third choice.
We're picking up players here or there. Okay, I mean, good for you, Jerry and company, but I'm just not seeing it. But definitely for me, it's the 49ers far and away. I just don't understand what the plan is.
For sure. Randall.
So yeah, mine might have a little haterade in it, but I went with the Kansas City Chiefs because, just because like their problems are still the problems, right? So Nate, I would give you like an A+ for getting Ronnie Staley because the Chiefs were so heavily in Ronnie Staley. They wanted him over there at that left tackle spot, and Ronnie Staley decided to stay in Baltimore, which then
Tampa didn't work out.
Yeah, I know, right? And then they had to pivot. They had to pivot, which then went to Jalen Moore for their left tackle, which he has never been a starting left tackle. He's always been a backup left tackle. So now you're putting in a backup left tackle for the same issue that you had last year, and then you lose Joe Thuney as well. So your offensive line is now worse, in my opinion. And then you got Hollywood Brown like 4 hours after the Xavier news came out. Thankfully he was innocent and everything along those lines. But you didn't address wide receivers any more than you did. Rashee Rice should be suspended next year for a certain amount of time. So your glaring holes were still now very glaring, and you have to fix them in the draft. Travis Kelce is not going to do much. He's deciding to do it for another year. He should retire or at least try and take a step back. I just think they took a couple steps backwards, and their rebuild will be a little bit rougher by this free agency.
To help the Chiefs, I'm going to give a quick shout out to Greg and Mr. Jeff Barnes. They got a show coming up at 9:15 of the NFL Draft Central. The Chiefs front office, take notes. It's definitely to work on that offensive line, particularly left tackle and right tackle both. But,
yeah.
I will also really quick, I like to throw in Houston Texans as a disappointment so far. Only because Stephon Diggs, obviously we know he tore his ACL in week 8. We don't know, more likely he'll be back at some point midway through this upcoming season. And then there's Tank Dell. Tank Dell got hurt. And he had his second ACL surgery and more than likely probably will be out this upcoming season. So who does CJ Stroud have to throw the ball to? And they really still need to work on some offensive line. They need some offensive line help for sure. So I don't think the Texans have gotten any better. They're just kind of now at this point plateaued. So that's definitely I would say a loser as well in free agency. Now I'd like to throw in the Jets as a winner. I think Justin Fields will be great with the gangrene. I don't understand this pressure. I'm, you know what? As a host, I'm gonna just call it out. Stephen A. Smith. Okay, look at this camera.
Oh, I like it.
Yeah.
You're smoking something if you're going to put a cap on Justin Fields' career. Did you not see the situation he came in when the Chicago Bears moved up for him? Did you take into consideration the staff that he's not only one but two head coaches, two systems? Because I've seen flashes. Okay, the Bears maybe are starting to start to put together. He hasn't even touched the field yet, mind you. Aaron Glenn, I think, is going to be a good coach, and that's proven to be a good coach. We haven't even seen what the Jets have done to build around him. I thought, correct me if I'm wrong, Justin Fields, for your Pittsburgh Steelers as a New Yorker, wasn't he like didn't he win like 3 games as a starter when Russell wasn't there? So to label him a bust and say it doesn't work out, his career is over, stop. Get some help. Justin Fields will be fine in the getting green. I just think new head coach, I think if you put him in the right, I think him in the right system. You've seen the flashes. You just build around him. He's got Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall. Buff up the offensive line a little bit more. You get a couple playmakers, whether it's the free agency, the draft. Defense last year for the Jets too. They was Holla before he got screwed. The Jets, they defensively, they were top tier, respectfully. Pieces are there. I think we just need to see how this gels. So I definitely want to give him Justin Fields in the New York Jets some love, because I definitely think that's a team I think we need to watch out this year. No disrespect to the Buffalo Bills, but I think the Jets and the Bills, because I'm not sold on Miami, those are my 2 sleepers in the AFC East for sure.
Definitely. You know who Justin's best friend could be? Malachi Corley. And quick passes, quick slants, just get the ball out real fast. Malachi Corley is that guy.
I do want to say that I completely agree with you what you were saying about Justin Fields. I think Justin Fields has gotten a bad rap and on the short end of the stick and been in really bad situations. And that's what my problem and issue is. The New York Jets is, again, another bad situation. Name the last successful quarterback. Even 4-time MVP Aaron Rodgers couldn't be successful there. Like, no quarterback can be successful as a New York Jet quarterback. I don't know there's some kind of weird, I don't know what it is, but New York Jet quarterbacks can't be successful. Mark Sanchez, wasn't Tim Tebow there? I mean, name the last successful New York Jet quarterback.
His name is Chad Pennington.
Okay. All right. Yeah. How'd that work out?
His name was Chad Pennington, and a deep ball for him was 12 yards.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But so I thought Justin Fields would have been a better suited when he was leaving Chicago to come to Minnesota. That was where I actually wanted Justin Fields when he was available then, before he went to Pittsburgh, and as opposed to Sam Darnold. But it is what it is. I like Justin Fields. I think he deserves a better chance and a better opportunity. I just hope he gets on a better team and a better system, because I just don't see it in New York working out. That's just my opinion. I hope the best for Justin Fields. I hope he gets a better chance, because his first 3 years in Chicago, he had 5 offensive coordinators, 2 head coaches. I mean, like, who's ever going to be successful in one of those scenarios? Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. Especially when you move up to get the guy. But I think Aaron Glenn as new head coach for the Jets, I think it'll be good. I think they'll be fine for sure. As we get ready to wrap it up, ladies and gentlemen, let's just go around. Let's just talk about what's happening in our neighborhoods respectfully. Steve, what's happening with you? Anything you got coming up?
I am just out here in the Minnesota Twin Cities trying to cover what is going on currently in the sports world. So we've got the Timberwolves season going on, so I'll be trying to kind of jump in and give some updates there. Whatever is happening with the Vikings signings here and there during the offseason and whatnot goes on there. And we've got the Twin season upcoming here, so baseball's right around the corner. Sports never stops. We never sleep. So just watch out. I'll be out there giving out creative content when and where I can and pop up.
I like it. Randall, what's going on in your neck of the woods?
Yeah, well, we got Razorbacks playing tomorrow versus Kansas. Hopefully we can upset in that 7-10 seed to be able to go Patino versus Calipari in round 2, so that'd be fun. And then, after that, we're getting into off-season, so I'll be breaking down the Razorbacks football team coming into 2025, which is really exciting. If you don't ever watch college baseball, I suggest you do. It is one of the most electric college sports is out there. I'll be breaking down the season, the Razorback season, throughout the year quarterly, and then hopefully we get into Omaha for the World Series. But I'll be doing that, and then just still writing some entertainment, things like that.
I like it for sure. Mr. Joe, out in Colorado, the Rocky Mountains? What's happening out there?
I mean, a lot going on with Team NBS. Obviously, we have our biggest event that we do every year coming up soon, which is the NFL Draft. We'll be live for every day, every pick. It's a big task, but it's fun. Wouldn't have been in the way. It's going to be led and charged by Jeff, Ashmere, Bill, Greg. So NFL Draft's my focus. NBA playoffs, obviously, as well. And then, unfortunately, I'm a Yankees fan. People, I think that this season, with the injuries and things that are going on, I don't even know how to feel about my Yankees. I got to see the first 25, 30 games to see what's going on this season. But yeah, baseball's going on with Team NBS Media, always looking for talent. Whether that's written content, whether that's podcast host, content creation. We are always on the lookout for the next big things. We talked about at the beginning of the show. Congratulations again to Cam, who's a longtime member of Team NBS, almost 2.5 years. Just got hired by the Boston Red Sox, working for the AA affiliation. So if you come in and put the work, the platform's been built. It's there for you to take advantage of it. And we're always looking for new content and new talent. And just nonstop, man. Never stops with us, for sure.
Absolutely. For me, I got my credentials to cover the Maryland women's basketball team, as they will host 2 games here in College Park. Their first game is actually Norfolk State this upcoming Saturday at 4 p.m. If they do win Monday, they will play against the winner of Alabama versus Green Bay. So I'm appreciative of the opportunity to cover the Maryland women's basketball team, as I've done this season for Maryland Sports Blog. For my podcast, Big Net Sports Talk podcast, we have been very busy. We just finished doing the WNBA mock draft. We're finishing up our first NFL mock draft before 1.0. I guess we're doing an episode this evening. We're actually breaking down the women's brackets respectfully. And we're also doing the men's bracket, breaking that down, and also getting ready for the Maryland men's basketball team, as they have to travel out to Seattle. That travel time is going to be something. But I mean, that travel is no joke. But then also too, I am an Orioles and a Nationals fan. The Orioles, we just going to be right in the middle of the pack. 85 wins, 89 wins at best, because we don't have a true number one pitcher, and guys got to stay healthy, because we already lost our best relief pitcher in Andrew Rutledge, and I thought the more I talk about the Orioles, I'm gonna.
You can't be beat down before opening day. Golly. Even I said I was gonna give my Yankees 25, 30 games before I get the full beatdown mode.
I can't, man.
It's hard out here in these MLB streets, man. It's hard. These Minnesota Twins, they're trying to lower payroll and
head all down.
They're trying to sell the team and lower payroll.
Yeah, no, but they should be fun. The Nationals, actually, I think this year will actually be a sleeper in their division. Actually, I'm going to predict them to finish third. They got the pitching staff, still got the young core, Mackenzie Gore, C.J. Abrams, Kirit Rutz. They should be okay. Dylan Cruz, I predict he's going to make an all-star team this year. So it's looking good for the DMV, but for the Nationals, the Orioles for sure. And also, too, WNBA season is also coming up as well for the Washington Mystics. Yeah. And we also have a new team on the Golden State Valkyries. So definitely going to be interesting WNBA season as well. So that's what's happening on my end of the world. But also, too, I got a special article. Still working on that, Joe. I get that out to you. Been putting a lot of due diligence on, make sure it's good and it's right before it's in your hands. So, but that's going to conclude this episode. Gentlemen, I want to thank you for your time. Hope you're all having a great week so far. Stay safe out there. Continue to check on loved ones. Make sure you take time for yourself. And remember to make somebody's day. And we'll talk soon, ladies and gentlemen. This is your host, Nathan Snell. Thank you for allowing me to host this evening. It's been a pleasure. And good night.
Thank you.